Today, we're getting rough with our cutting back. Hello my friends. Same plant, same issue, just 1 year later. Last year, I already attempted at changing the setup for my Monstera adansonii. Now overall, I'm not mad. She's obviously very large, very lush, very beautiful. But she's been like that for the last 3 years. I haven't really seen any change. I think I'm maxing out on leaf size. Every now and then the plant throws out lots and lots of flowers, then it reverts in leaf size a little bit, and then it starts growing larger leaves again. That's okay. I'm enjoying the plant for sure, but it's getting a little bit boring. Now last year I attempted at growing a much lusher pole. So instead of aiming for maturity, aim for volume of plants on here. And I actually kind of failed. 1 or 2 plants really ended up shooting the lights out and ended up maturing again, which then kind of stole the light from all of the other plants. So I ultimately ended up with 2 plants on here again. And one of the plants has only reached about halfway here. The other plant has shot the lights out. I actually even had to cut off the growth point at the top because it was just outgrowing its pole too fast, and I don't want to do too many chop and extends with this plant to just perpetuate the same look over and over again. Usually with chop and extends, I like to go from a small juvenile plant to a mature plant without losing all of the progress. But over here, I'm just going from mature plant to mature plant to mature plant, and you know, and I'm not complaining, but I'm really itching to do something more fundamental with this plant. Switch it up a little bit. I'm just a little bit bored, if you know what I mean. I've had this plant for 6 years now. I think I just want to switch it up a little bit. And it's the beginning of the growing season, so this plant is going to have a really easy time growing over the next few months. So what better time to switch it up than now? And that's what we're doing in today's video. Hey everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is my beautiful Monstera adansonii subspecies Laniata. An all-time favorite, but as I mentioned in the intro, I'm keen to switch it up a little bit. And be warned, it's gonna be quite dramatic, but trust the process. We're not actually starting this process today. I actually started this process a couple of months ago already. Actually, a month and a half ago. So a month and a half ago, I decided to start chopping between a lot of the nodes. I also chopped off the top because the newest leaf was unfurling and hitting the ceiling, so it actually got completely deformed and scratched. So it would have been kind of ugly anyway. So I thought, let's just chop off the top and give this time to reshoot as well. And then hopefully other nodes would have reshot by then as well. So let me just insert a little clip of what that looked like a month and a half ago. Alrighty guys, it's getting too tall, so I gotta do something. So this is going to be where the main cut is. So I want to keep everything from here upwards, but I don't want to just do a regular chop and extend. I also want to multiply this plant because the second shoot is only reached to here. So the main shoot I cut here, 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 and up here again. Basically, it's growing too fast at the moment. It's pushing up against there, but it's kind of just left, right, not lush enough. Yes, I love the big leaves, but I want more. And I'm not concerned about it reverting because we're just going into spring. So that's the idea with the top half. And then the bottom half, I chopped in many spots. I didn't chop the little gaps in, so it's harder to see, but here, here, heaps of them, here, here. Yeah, lots. So the bottom half, whatever. Now, because I did so many chops, I'm assuming that this mother plant is going to decline quite quickly. Gonna be yellow leaves, but that's okay. Let's give it a month or so. Wait for some new shoots, and then we are in a position to go and chop and extend. I'm just hoping that within that next month, this plant isn't growing much more, because it has no more room to grow. It's just reaching the ceiling and getting hurt and all of that. So I'd rather have the plant put energy into establishing multiple shoots than just pushing out new growth at the top, because there's no more room. Hence the amount of chops. Hey baby. Quick update. Look at all of these shoots. It's going so well. And then here's a few more down here. So I think not long, and we can start down there, heaps. Yeah, not long, and we can get on top of this. Sweet, and then over that month and a half, I very quickly saw new shoots coming out of the stems, and by now they're actually quite established already. Let me bring you closer with my phone. Let's start from the bottom. So over here we can see a new shoot, new shoot, new shoot, new, 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 new. Probably not gonna activate in the top. I don't know how many times I said new, but lots, right? So there's lots and lots of new growth already coming in, but they're not really getting much light at the moment. So I feel like we need to give them a little bit of space to unfold. Now, one other thing I want to show you close up. I do think I've had quite a bit of mealybugs on here actually. I am going to use contender spray to get on top of that, but I think they have caused a bit of damage. Look at this. Lots of browning. I think they could also be based on winter and maybe inconsistent watering. Especially down here, I already cut off a lot of the edges because they were so ugly. Obviously, I'm bitching and moaning on like a high level over here. In the grand scheme of things, the plant is still looking quite nice. And I think from your point of view, like from the camera, the plant actually looks better on camera than it looks in real life. In real life, the markings are much more visible, especially when it's in front of the grow light. I noticed that the grow light brings out the yellow more. Like not causes the yellow, but the yellow looks worse with the grow light hitting it. So I look at this plant all the time. You're actually in the spot where the plant usually lives. So we just switched. And you're right next to my TV. So it's actually the plant that's probably the most on display. And it's been bothering me. And you know what? If nothing changes, nothing changes. I'm not growing plants to preserve every leaf and hold on to every leaf for as long as possible. I grow plants for aesthetic reasons. I grow plants because I want to look at them and I want to feel excited. And right now, I'm just not that excited. But what I can tell you is that we are about to chop this up. Was my fly open the whole time? But I'm not going to re-record this. Sorry and or you're welcome. You choose. Alrighty, I know I'm about to get quite rough with this plant, but just trust the process. Wait till the end of the video before complaining in the comment section, okay? Okay, I'll stop there. I was contemplating cutting them all off, but actually there's a chop here. So maybe I'll turn this into chop and extend. So I want to keep, actually that would still make no sense because there will be, I'll leave a few leaves at the top. I know it looks ridiculous, but trust the process, guys. Trust the process. Like just to show you, look, there's actually quite a lot of damage on some of these leaves. And actually, as I was chopping, I found so many mealybugs. There was way more mealybugs on here than expected. So I'm hoping that getting rid of majority of the leaves will also make the treatment much easier. I mean, I chopped off a lot, right? Now we can count the shoots a little bit better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And I just did 2 more chops because I couldn't hold myself back. So if both of these will now reshoot again as well, we'll end up with 21. Let's just say 20. We have a lot of potential over here. I just feel like getting rid of all of the old leaves that were also pest infested, as well as were shading the plant. Now, of course, these old leaves can contribute to photosynthesis and then give energy to the plant, but there should be enough energy stored in the stem for the plant to now have a really good time reshooting healthy as well, because hopefully I'm getting rid of the mealybugs more efficiently by just getting rid of all the leaves where they can hide. I obviously need to make sure that I also clean up these little bits where the stem inserts into the petiole. I have all of these little bumps sticking out now. Over time they will just go yellow, and then I'll just flip them off. Let me quickly show you the root system. I mean, this root system is incredible. Look how full this pole is. Full and full and full of roots. Actually, down there they don't look too healthy. That's okay. I'll get rid of them with the next chop and extend. There are even new ones coming in here. So it's looking good. I'm confident that the plant has a very decent root system to really re-establish quickly. And as I mentioned, we have perfect conditions at the moment. It's warm, but not too warm. It is humid. And yeah, so hopefully this won't take all too long to reshoot, but we gotta trust the process, and I have got to look at this ugly plant for a little bit. Didn't think that through. But I'm going to put her back in the spot where I know she at least has good conditions, because if I now put her in a spot with worse conditions, then fundamentally taking away the ability for it to recover. Should I keep these leaves even, or should I just get rid of it? You know what, I keep them for now. That's good enough. They don't really take up too much light from the ones below, so I'm not mad at it. Alrighty, that's it for today. We'll see each other soon, hopefully. Actually, one more quick thing. Some of these are starting to come off the side of the pole. So I'm just going to put a little chopstick in there to make sure that they make it back to the center. Or at least they don't come off fully. Because, I mean, I want a lush pole, not a lush outside of the pole. Okay, those are the only ones I can see so far. Good luck to me. Guess what? I didn't need luck. I just needed to trust the process, which I did, and only 4 weeks later, it's looking really, really good, especially at the top over here. But let me put in some footage on the side over here to show you the progression over the last 4 weeks, because this plant bounced back really, really quickly. Week 1, you can definitely see these new shoots coming out more rapidly. Week 2, we almost have a little bit of coverage of the moss pole already, where it's almost looking okay. Week 3, we're definitely getting there. It's looking like a nice display. And now in week 4, it's looking pretty good already. So it's time for the follow through of all of this. Now, the whole idea behind me chopping up the plant and letting it reshoot is so that I have lots and lots of plants, but I also need to give these plants room to now grow. The top is already banging into the ceiling, and I think I actually messed it up. It will be easier to show you when I cut it in half and bring you closer. But I think the first thing I want to address is these 3 remaining larger leaves. I don't think they necessarily fit the aesthetic of the display now. And they're actually stealing light from these new lush plants over here that I really want to optimize now. Now, if we're also having a close look, there are mealybugs over here, still here. A lot more over here, 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 here. Over here, there, and there. Yeah. Honestly, up there, I can't really reach it that well, so pest treatment was a little bit harder. Over the last 4 weeks, when I saw a mealybug, all I really did, one second, was take isopropyl alcohol, put it on a little cotton bud, and then I just, let's see if I can find one. Well, hopefully not. I'll just pretend. Rub it off, right? I'm sure I'll find one. Probably easier once I bring it down and it's on eye height. Maybe over here. Then I can also look into the petiole a little bit more. Sometimes they're hiding inside the petiole. Anyway, obviously that's just removing them, and then I'm also going to continue using contender spray for systemic treatment. But overall, I feel like chopping off the existing leaves, yes, was obviously quite dramatic. You don't have to be that dramatic, but it helped me in reducing the numbers of mealybugs that are present over here. But I could have also just spent a little bit more time on treating the plant better and more thoroughly. I think first and foremost, what cutting off the old leaves did is it gives these leaves down here room to expand, and especially gives them light, right? So I'm pretty happy. Now obviously the process didn't start those 4 weeks ago, right? Obviously I made the chop 4 weeks ago when I already saw the plant having reshot and the reshoots about to produce their first leaves, right? So that way I really reduced the time that the plant looks horrible. It really just looked bad for maybe 2 weeks, right? And then in week 3 it already looked better. So that's definitely my recommendation. Do the chop first, and then obviously when you chop it, keeping the existing leaves enables the plant to produce energy that can then be put into the reshoot. But I think at some stage chopping off the existing leaves, while yes, you're basically now impacting the plant's ability to produce energy, also tells the plant to prioritize the new leaves so the plant can produce energy again, if you know what I mean. So I think I kind of hit the sweet spot over here. But of course, if you're nervous, you can also just keep the existing leaves on for longer. But I also found it was a good opportunity for me to have the new leaves emerging without mealybugs, if that makes sense. Obviously not eradication of mealybugs, but drastically reducing the chances of mealybugs causing issues with the new leaves. Anyway, I think I made myself quite clear. Now it is on to deciding where I would like to actually chop this plant. Now there's a few options. I can obviously go with where I overlapped the poles, right? So I could say, okay, I'm just making the cut over here, and then everything from here up will come with me. Everything from here down will stay on this pole, which I'll probably give to Tim. But I can also make the cut wherever I want. So I could say, for example, this part of the pole is quite bare, right? That would be great to be within a pot, because obviously part of it will go in a pot. So if I put this in a pot, then it already looks really good. And of course, the higher up I make the chop, the lower the plant will be, the more room the plant will have to then grow. So if I only chop it here, let's say, I'm only really removing this much of pole, which means I can only extend it by this much of pole, which means it will probably reach the top of its pole yet again. So I'm going to be strategic over here and factor in how is the plant going to look the best right after the chop, but also how am I giving the plant enough space to regrow and regrow lush, right? So I don't have to do this process again straight away. So I think I'm going with this natural gap over here, so that kind of all of this down below is staying. Like there's one chop over here. I don't want this to be in the, I don't want this plant to be in the pot. It will just suffer, right? So this one should stay with this plant, and then I just need to quickly chop the second shoot over here. Oh, found a mealybug. Where's my cotton swab? There you go. Definitely haven't eradicated them, huh? Am I ready to do this chop now? I think so. Let's do it. Do it like you do it to me. So I have decided to chop the whole thing over here. So I chop through the mesh at the front first. And also I will not be able to save any of the roots, so I will just chop through the whole pole, including any of the roots. and it will be just fine. Don't worry. I'll just make a cut through here. There is a garden stake in there, so I need to be careful. Oh, I should probably start holding on to the top. There we go. I think I got it. Did I cut through this root? Yes. Okay, I need to back up a bit. Okay, the moment of truth. Where is it stuck right now? I think there's a few more roots that I just need to chop through. Oh yeah, here. Oh yeah, you heard that, I think. That might have been the reason why. One more over here. Whew. Okay. Ta-da! Alrighty. Whew. That was quite exhausting. Why is the light changing so much? Okay, you can really see I had to chop through a few of the thicker roots over here. That's okay. This is still plenty of root system for the plant to rely on. And what you can also see is that this bottom part naturally has no reshoots at the moment. I suppose that's because I didn't cut it anywhere over here. There's one little shoot that hasn't really activated, which means I actually need to get rid of no leaves. When I pot this up now, I can extend it and let's see, let's count it while I can come closer once I extend it so big again. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the top is technically 10, but I think I have to maybe chop this up because it got banged into the ceiling so much. I think I will chop up the top because see how there's another node activating here. I reckon if I just chop this, there you go. I'm getting rid of the ugly leaf. It's never going to unfurl and look nice. But what that also means is that this top is now going to take its sweet time to reshoot again, and that gives all the other plants a bit of time to catch up. So I don't have one shoot shooting the lights out yet again. You know, I want to keep it as a lush display, and maybe as part of that I need to continuously chop the top off or continuously chop the outperforming plant, yeah, rather than letting it get too far like I did this time around. Found another mealybug somewhere here. It's good. Now I can actually see these leaves from above. I was never able to look at them from above. Let me have a look. See, they like to hide in the little petioles. Yeah, so far so good. I suppose what I'll do is I'll keep an eye on it, and maybe I think I did a spray of Confidor last week, so maybe in another week I'll do another spray to systemically get rid of them. But I'm also just going to keep an eye on it, and as soon as I see one, see how it's stuck on there now? Yuck. Anyway, just got to be more diligent, but now that I can actually see the plant and I can reach the plant, I'm having a realistic chance. Let's quickly park this on the side and we have a look at the top, and then we can pot this up straight away though, right? Because the cuts, actually, I mean, one of the stems I had to cut now, but it doesn't matter. I am going to recoup this garden stake because we'll need it for the extension. Whoop. And this is a beautiful plant that I can now give to Tim, and he can put this in his garden, on his fence, and then all of these plants will grow off the moss pot onto the fence and hopefully grow really, really beautiful. That's the exact same process we did with the dubia and the Cebu blue, and they have absolutely shot the lights out. So I think this will look really, really stunning in his garden. And the good thing is I'm not just giving him one plant to reach the top. Probably this one will be the first. There is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plants on here. That's not counting these little shoots, like 1, 2, 3, 4 more. So potentially 14 plants. So this is going to really not just fill his wall this way, it will also spread horizontally and hopefully create a little bit of interest. And of course, we'll just take it out of the pot and dig it into the ground. So all good. He doesn't know that that's coming for him yet. And also keep in mind, all of these leaves over here are also brand new, right? So they're all beautiful. It looks good. I really like this. I just have so many of them already. Actually, I have one outside. I have 2 outside. I have 3 outside. I have too many adansonii, but this one is the most promising one, so this one I would like to give to Timmy. Anyway, I will park this in my greenhouse until I'm ready to go to his. I have a few plants that I want to give him, so I'll probably just walk over with like 3 or 4 poles that he's unaware of, and then, you know, Christmas. Yay! Anyway, I'll film that. In the meantime, I'll just park it in my greenhouse and pretend like it doesn't exist. Actually, maybe not a good idea to put it in my greenhouse with the mealybugs. I'm sure everything else has mealybugs in my greenhouse as well. Actually, maybe I won't put it in the greenhouse. Maybe I'll just put it on my wall of aeroids, because at least then the mealybugs won't spread in an enclosed environment. To be honest, I feel like if I put it in my garden and I just let it get rained on, the mealybugs will disappear by themselves. Plus, insects out there will just eat the mealybugs or something like that. Also, that's probably why it's the best idea ever to put it in Tim's garden. Over there, mealybugs don't really matter, you know. It's really just an indoor issue. Hot out there. Alright, let's get going with this. Alright, we'll take this it's so light. Weighs nothing now, this is crazy. Take this, put it all the way to the bottom of the pot. Put it all the way to the back of the pot, because all of the leaves are facing one way. And I'm gonna back this back up into a corner. As you saw on the weekly updates, it's just in a corner. It's actually right in the corner that's behind you right now. So I will give this a little bit of a backwards tilt so it can lean into the corner, and that way I'll stop it from being top heavy, even if the leaves are getting really large again. I really didn't mind the size of the leaves that the plant had. I just wanted it to come from more than just one shoot, if you know what I mean. Imagine there's 3 or 4 shoots on here that all have nice mature leaves, like the one I had before. That would be sexy. I just didn't like it with this one plant on there, because with one plant, the leaves just spread left, right, left, right, left, right, and I basically just end up looking at the moss pole in the middle. Whereas if I have even just 2 or 3 plants, they should fill each other's gaps, and I ultimately end up looking at just leaves and not pole. Even if I end up with the exact same end result. Keep in mind, there is no such thing as an end result, right? Like, I'll repeat this process for the rest of my life until I decide that I don't want this plant anymore, right? Like, there's no end. This is still not the end. This is just the end for this year. Next year we're gonna do the same again, right? So, yeah, even if I end up with the end result, I so enjoyed the last 4 weeks. You have no idea. Like, every day there, I like literally send videos to Timmy. I was like, oh my god, Timmy, can you believe how much it's grown in just the last 24 hours? You know, like, I really enjoyed the journey. Look at this, nice backwards tilt. I'm gonna jam the garden stake back in there, and yes, you can probably hear it, how it's ruining a few roots. Has to be done. Oh my god, what is this sound? It's fine. Next step. So I've done this also many times before, so I'm going through this process quite quickly. Something I've prepared earlier. Let's just make sure I matched the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Now we gotta see how tall I want this. I think we can go pretty tall on this. I think I'm only going to overlap this by 2. Perfect. I really love this. So because I cut quite a small part, I really have the ability to extend it by a lot. That's perfect. But I don't want it to be unstable. Do you think 2 is enough? 2 is enough. I've got the garden stake. So, I mean, by how many do I overlap this? Obviously, if I only overlap it by 1, it's going to be very unstable. So at least 2. So we have 2 anchoring points for each side. 3 would make it more stable, but I'm not super worried about stability because I've got the garden stake and I'm just leaning it into a corner. So it's not freestanding as such. So let's just put it together with 2, and if I'm not happy with that, I can just always push it down and do 3 overlaps instead. How can I illustrate this? Maybe I can use this. Maybe I don't need to illustrate it. Maybe everybody's aware of what I'm talking about. But let's say this is the bottom pole, this is the top pole. If I now put them on top of each other and I only have 1 anchoring point over here, obviously this can wobble around a lot, right? If I have 2 anchoring points here and here, there's nothing, this does not move anymore, you know what I mean? If I have 3 anchoring points, obviously it's going to be more stable, but it's also going to be shorter. So I need to find somewhat of a balance. I also need to keep in mind that it's going to be in a pot. Let me maybe put it, because it's going to be in a pot. That pot actually is a really good fit. The plant sits on top of it, so it doesn't go all the way to the bottom. So if I water and there's excess, it actually accumulates in the planter over here, so it's never sitting in water. So that's really good, because it's a big plant. I don't want to take out for watering frequently. But if I now overlap this by 2, perfect, we're still clearing the ceiling. I don't know if you can see anything. You guys are so far away. I feel like you're in a different dimension. Anyway, obviously we need to fill the little overlap with moss. And now we need to hope for the best again. When I do this, I just need to push the garden stake in here. It was easier with the bottom part because it was the sharp part. I suppose over here we don't have roots yet. Whew, oh my god, everything is so easy today. And then this, I would love to have the plastic go into the inside of the last one, if possible. Done. Overlapping by 2. Right, what I do is I go plastic, mesh over here to connect it all. Alright, let's have a look. I mean, now with the extension you can very much see the backwards tilt more distinctly. I'm not mad at it at all, but maybe too much. So I can adjust that by just compressing the aeroid mix in the back of the pole. The back is plastic anyway, so it doesn't matter if I compress it a little bit. At the front, I am not compressing the aeroid mix because I want roots to come from the pole into the aeroid mix and expand. And these aeroid roots love aeration. Now I will have to take this plant outside, hose it down, because when I just put the moss pole on, a lot of moss was flaking all over these leaves, making it look like a lot of mealybugs. Thank you. I don't remember ordering anything, but those are the most fun packets, no? Whee! Christmas present from Germany. Let's go. Happy days. All right. These days, I'm actually patient enough to wait till Christmas. That is definitely something that plant care has taught me. Where was I? Anyway, yeah, I need to go outside, hose it down, because now I'm going to think that all of the little bits of moss are mealybugs. I'm also going to keep doing the chopstick trick that I showed you initially, but so far so good. I think once I've given them the right trajectory, they've been pretty well behaved. Anyway, I think we're in a position to wrap up this video over here. So let me recap. There was nothing wrong with the plant apart from the mealybugs. But of course, I'm not saying you have to be so radical in cutting up your plant just because you saw a pest here and there. If you act like that every time you see pests, you'll end up having no plants and no leaves, because there's pests in my collection at all times. I'm just going with an ongoing management approach, either through, you know, just wiping off the existing ones, trying some systemic pest treatments like contender spray, but also just being diligent, taking it outside, hosing it down. Clean leaves are healthy leaves. Just cleaning your plants won't eradicate pests, but at least it will stop them from causing visual damage. And that's what I'm ultimately after. I just don't want the plant to look ugly as a result of it. Now, the plant didn't look ugly yet, but I know it was inevitable with pests being there and me being slow and getting on top of it. It is normal for the leaves to just deteriorate and eventually look ugly, right? On top of that, the plant reached the top of its pole, so I needed to at very least perform a chop and extend, what I've done today. But instead of just doing a chop and extend for the 700th time with this plant, I thought, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's create a lush pole and then do a chop and extend with a lush pole, so that there's 10 plants that can now race up the pole instead of just 2. So basically those, what was it? I think 6 weeks, 10 weeks. I think it was 10 weeks, right? 6 weeks until I actually chopped the leaves off, and then 4 weeks of the plant regrowing with the leaves chopped off, right? So those 10 weeks that we followed at the beginning of the journey, they were, I suppose, optional, or they are optional in the sense of I only did that because I was aiming for a lush pole. I could have also just not done that and went straight to the chop and extend that we performed today, to just get the mature leaves to go further down on the pole and then give the mature leaves time to grow up again. However, growing this plant for the 5th or 6th year now, I'm pretty confident that these leaves wouldn't have actually increased. So I would have just perpetuated the same look, and I just had the need to switch it up a little bit. And I did all of that for the sake of the journey. I didn't do it for the sake of optimizing the plant's aesthetics in that moment. But I think 4 weeks later, the plant is already looking good. And with this big extension, I have now set way more potential for the plant to continuously thrive over the next few months. Would I be that extreme with every plant? No. I have 4 of this plant because I have gone through many chop and extends with this plant over the years. So even if this would have caused the plant to completely die, I have another big pole in the garden, I have another small pole in my greenhouse, and I have a lush trailing display in my greenhouse as well. So, you know, I have backups. Secondly, I was pretty confident that this is going to work because it's just been an easy grower for me over the last 5 years, so why would something change suddenly? I'm not changing anything else for this plant. It's in the same position, supported by the same light, using the same nutrients, and it's the growing season over here as well. So if I'm ever confident in the plant recovering from a pretty extreme chop, then it is right now. So I suppose for me it was an educated decision to be that extreme with my chop, and it was based on what I want to achieve, based on me wanting to have a little bit of fun, you know, push the envelope. Bottom line, I can totally understand how you look at this process and be like, okay, that's too full on, that's too much, I don't want to do that, and that's also okay, but hopefully it at least captured your attention and you can take some of the principles from this process and apply. You don't need to be so extreme and do it to the whole plant. I could have just done it to the bottom half, right? I could chop in between every node on the bottom half and then chop all of the bottom leaves off. That's the pole that's going to be chopped off later on as part of the chop and extend anyway. You don't need to do it with the top half, the one that you potentially want to continuously mature. And then you can take the top part off with the mature leaves, keep that going as per usual, and just extend the bottom part, and then you have the same effect. You just don't have that additional part to now give to your friend, but maybe you don't want to give the plant to your friend. I already have enough of this plant, so as I mentioned, I wasn't aiming at doubling up the impact over here. I wanted to keep one pole, but I just wanted the pole to be lusher. Hopefully it also encourages you to chop between the nodes of your plant ahead of time. Give it a little bit of time to reshoot to then reduce the time of the plant looking ugly. And overall, I hope it just makes you excited to pick up scissors, knives, secateurs, whatever you prefer to cut up your plants. Hopefully it encourages you to go ahead and propagate. Propagation is such a fun part of this hobby, and if it wasn't for propagation, I would be so bored. Anyway, it is definitely time to wrap it up now. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a blast. I loved the journey, and I loved going through this journey with you guys. If you watched all the way, I think we more than ever deserve scissor emojis in the comment sections today. So leave one in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I film houseplant tours every 2 to 3 months. So at the latest indoors, you will see more updates on this plant, but maybe at the end of the growing season I can do a more dedicated video about this plant yet again to see how it is doing with all of this pole that it can now take advantage of. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye!